Another week, another video. Yay! I've been thinking about this week, and I've been thinking, what can I talk about? Because there's so much, and it's very difficult in my brain to kind of decide. But the one thing that kind of I thought about this week was, and it's happened to me lots and lots of times, is when you go typically to an interview and you get like asked questions, and a lot of it is like technical stuff. So I'm walking in the car, I can see in the window. Yeah, so like things like if you've been programming in Java or C++ or C# or whatever, and they ask you technical questions around that. But one of the questions that I think mostly appears, if not in every single interview, regardless of language, and it's typically worded similar to, what are you most proud of, or what do you remember the most or what did you do well, or something like that. So basically trying to get you to give an answer to say what you've done or what you think you've done well, and a project or a bit of code, or let me just move my hand a minute, put a bit of code or something that you particularly remember. And there's quite a few things in my time that I've done that I always remember. For example, when I first took on a role as a Scrum Master, taking a team who was running Waterfall, people that had never, were in their going on mid-60s or late 50s, who'd never did not the right pronunciation, but done, anything but sort of Waterfall or mainframe development, and they were thrown into this agile process and guiding them into becoming an agile team, for example. All that cool dump tools I've talked about before, or I remember implementing attachments in emails in a product that I worked on. The email basically generated a bit of text and then added attachments to that. There's lots of things that I remember. That I always go with answers with this, and sometimes they're looking for, I think, answers of a technical basis, like I remember adding in email attachments. It was all written in Visual C++, and when I went there, it was just a bit of text that was produced and then sent, and I kind of added objects to allow you to do different types of attachments, etc., etc. And other ones is maybe around the kind of your skills in outside of technical, like for example, as I said, taking creating a Scrum team. So I think that I've been asked this question so many times, and I've got so many different answers. But it's something to kind of note, and it's something that I think is very typical through probably most interviews, not just software engineer technical roles, but probably other, crampy hand, other types of interview for other types of roles. And it got me thinking on all these things I've done. And I remember, actually, I've worked on many different languages in my time, and the one that I kind of laugh about is when I did some TCL, optical as most people call it, and I kind of was a representative of the company that I worked for, and they hired a number of companies to work on a project that never actually happened, by the way. Went months through this project, and in the end it was sidebarred because of cost, and also the way the business was decided to go after that. They decided to not do this. But I remember having to work out of so I went to an interview, and it was a job based in London. I was living in a town called Reading at the time, which is about 40 miles maybe, but it's like one train into London. Well, I say one train, there's 3 different trains. There's a stopper that takes about an hour, an express is half an hour, and a mid one which is 45 minutes, right? So just to give you a bit of insight. And this company was in a place called Angel in Islington, and to get there you had to catch a train from Reading to London, and then there was 2 tube stops. I can't remember the exact one, but I think one was the Northern Line. The other one might have been Central and then Northern. Something. Anyway, so it was like train, 2 tubes. And I thought, no, I won't take this job because it's too much of a commute in the morning. I don't really want to have to do that. But I was working for this company that decided to take this company on as one of their partners for this project. Happened to be the company that I'd had this interview with 2-3 years before, got the offer but decided not to do it because I got an offer from them, and actually it was the best offer at the time with regards to money, but I decided not to do it because of the journey. And I got an offer, I started working for the company I was working for, started working with them, and I had to work out their office. So I actually spent 3 months doing this commute, which I'd actually turned down because I didn't want to do that. So that's a negative remembrance. However, the positive is in that role, I worked on one of the interfaces using TCL. I'd never used TCL before, and I learned quite a bit of TCL and produced one of the interfaces along with a couple of other members of different teams. So it was quite an interesting and quite one of the things that sticks in my mind. But there's other things like development stuff and Scrum team stuff that I've already talked about. But just to kind of maybe something to take note of, always think about what you're most proud of in your career and be prepared, because you'll probably get asked a question at some point. Another one that's been asked recently is, tell me a joke. Always have a joke in your head just in case. Right, that's it for this week. I will catch you all next week, apart from the coding, which I'm still continuing doing, hopefully. Bye for now then.